I've lost it all with trading, and I've also won it all back. So it's just part of the game.
What's going on, Top Tier Trader? Brittany Hughes here, and coming at you live from Miami, Florida. I feel like every time I sit in this chair, I'm like, yo, it's been a little bit, but it's good to have you here. We have a very exciting conversation today, but before we get into it, I always would like to remind you to like this video and make sure that you're subscribed to the Top Tier YouTube channel, because if you haven't discovered it already, we are posting every single Friday a new interview, have it being hosted by myself, or Dave's been in the chair recently as well. And we have a lot of good guests coming up soon on the pod, today included. So again, make sure you are subscribed to this channel and feel free to turn your notifications on so you are notified every single time we are posting to our page. So without further ado, I want to welcome Dallion King to the Top Tier Trader Interviews.
Okay, how's everyone doing? Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
How are you today?
I'm good. This is I think it's like my second podcast ever. Yeah.
Okay. I love that. When was your first one?
I did it with a friend of mine named Lewis for Traders Cast.
Okay.
It was a couple months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Top Tier Trader Interviews. Just so you know, the individuals who are tuning into this podcast, I mean, typically there's such a range from people who are just getting into trading, people who are just getting into trading prop firms, people who are in the mix, and people who are experienced who are just tuning in. Maybe some friends of yours who are tuning into this podcast because they recognize the name. So ultimately, what we love to do on these podcasts is just to be able to provide value from, again, that scale of individuals, newcomers to experienced, and somewhere in between. So for those people who don't know who you are, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself, what you're up to right now?
I am a New York native.
Okay.
And long story short, I'm known as a ghost, right? I just exist in the background. I'm a developer. I've specialized in automated trader systems for the past 5 years.
Okay.
I also work with companies like DX Trade to onboard different props and stuff like that, develop different products with them. I work with hedge funds, stuff like that. So, and AI. So I'm just an overall developer, and I make cool stuff for traders. I've worked with a lot of the guys you've had on the podcast, and a lot of brokers and prop firms. So I just create stuff. I do have students that utilize my systems, and I'm just a ghost. I just make stuff.
We're lucky to have the ghost on camera today.
Right?
How'd you get into that? So that's what you're doing now, and how long have you been doing it for? Let me start there.
About 5 years.
Okay.
I've always been a coder, but I'm actually I just retired from being a professional basketball player.
Okay.
So I played overseas. I went viral a few times, like social media and stuff like that. And then, during COVID is when I started making the transition to learning how to trade.
Okay.
And then my first mentor was an algorithmic trader. So I kind of went down that wormhole and then became an algorithmic trader, had my own students, and just kind of went from there.
How did you learn how to code? Did you go to school for that? Did you self-taught?
Yeah, self-taught.
Okay.
I've been doing it since young. So it was like...
How young?
10.
Oh, wow.
When I told my cousin what I was doing, he was like, this makes sense. You were jailbreaking phones at 11.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it was I've always been that nerd, but I've always a jock as well. So it was like, when I was playing, and I was playing for the Dominican Republic at the time, and I had a tryout for the national team. That same day, COVID was announced.
Which was like March something, 2020.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And I had to go back home, and then everyone got to figure out what they got to do. So
and what was home for you?
I was living in LA at the time.
Okay.
I was living in LA, and everything just got shut down. So it was like I didn't have any means to make money. and then IML was a thing. So that's how I kind of entered the trading world.
Okay, that was going to be my next
Yeah.
question. So at that point, playing basketball was your only stream of income.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously can't play,
Yeah.
COVID. So now you're like, okay, how do I make money?
Yeah, as, everyone's seen the blue screens, everyone's posting them up. So I was like,
Yeah.
I hit up a friend of mine. I was like, oh, what's this? And then, obviously they took me through the wormhole. I got banned from IML. I got banned from multiple other MLMs because eventually I'm a ghost for a reason. I don't talk to people. Okay. So, I don't do the recruiting thing, but I was getting pretty good at trading fast, not because I'm a great manual trader, but I automated a profitable strategy, right? So it's like I was automating the system, sending signals to Telegram and Discord and stuff like that. So people were paying me. So the people I was bringing in were actually just paying me, not IML, or any other MLM. So they ended up banning me. And that's how I got into my first mentorship.
Okay. How did you go from learning? I mean, how long did it take you to learn how to trade manually to then understand what systems needed to be created for the automation side?
If I had to really think about it, I think 3 months into me playing around with it manually,
Okay.
right? I started getting curious because, again, my first mentor was an algo guy, right? So it's like when I saw how he was getting his signals and how he was trying to teach his mentorship based on his system, I was like, I can make one of these, right? So I just looked it up. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, momentum, I was like, all right, momentum. Then if you go on TradingView, it's a community-based platform, right? So you can see open source systems and indicators and strategies. So I just went down the wormhole and I started coding it out myself.
And how long did that take you?
It probably took another 3 months after that.
Okay.
So I would say it's total 6 months before I finally had something where it was like, okay, I can use this for myself, right? And then, you're still new. So no matter what that system does, you're still going to mess it up yourself.
Of course. There's always user
error. Yeah, always user error. Like, there's greed, you're overcoming all those. So,
of course. Isn't it funny how that learning curve for individuals who trade manually, it takes typically a long time. And that's one of the main indicators of like a profitable trader from an unprofitable trader. And then you throw automation in the mix and there's still, why do we still feel the need to control something that is supposed to be doing the work for us?
I think people are trying to solve their problems.
Yeah.
Because like, my friends asked me like, oh, how did trading go? I was like, I have no idea. I don't look until Friday.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Like I'll get an alert, what I'm saying, on my phone saying, oh, server's down. So I don't have to check. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's on. I know it's on. I don't check till Friday. And I've had to learn how to do that because, God, bless, I'm not in a position anymore where I have problems I have to solve actively.
Sure.
But, people get in the game to solve their problems.
Yeah.
Right. So when people come to me like, yo, how did you get to this point? I'm like, name your top 5 problems right now that you have to solve on a monthly basis. Phone, rent, car. Okay, what's the cheapest? Phone. How much is your phone? $150. So you're telling me off $1,000, you need to make $150 to solve this problem. Okay, let's solve the problem. We could do that in a day. You know what I mean? 2 minutes, you actually do that. You know what I mean? We solved the problem and you made your $150, but then you saw how easy it was to make the $150. Then you're like, I could double it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
and that's what happens. So it's like, I know people that are just blessed with the eyes to see. You know what I mean? Like it took a second for me to recognize patterns, right? Because I was such a algo guy that I had to double back and go back to price action. Then I realized I can automate price action. So, but there's some people that are great at puzzles, right? And puzzles is a visual thing and they could just see a pattern that immediately. But it all comes down to the trade and money management at the end of the day. And I realized that when I spoke to my first hedge fund client. And there's a simple setting, and I'm going to give it away for free for any algo developers or anything like that. It's an equity manager. It's a cash out exit. If you have any system. You can turn any system profitable if you realize that even on a losing trade, your drawdown or when it goes into profit, if you manage the live equity and cash out, it turns into a profitable trade. So what do you categorize a profitable trade? TP or you closed out in profit? So if I know I have a 100-point TP and I'm floating what I need to make for the day at this point, close the trade automatically, right? And then you'll see your 30% win rate go to pretty much freaking 100, right?
And
Because
what you're saying is that there's a system to indicate, okay, my TP's at, 100 pips. I can say if it reaches this point, then it automatically closes out.
go to the trade. If I want to make $500 a day,
Yep.
right, I get to recognize the contract sizes of the broker that I'm trading on, right? So let's make the math simple. If I'm trading NASDAQ and I have a $10,000 account, and this is not great risk management, by the way, but let's just make the math. A standard lot on this broker is $100 per point. And I want to make $500. How many points do I need? But my take profit for my system is 100 points. So I can potentially hit a $10,000 trade, right? And back test wise, I hit that $10,000 60% of the time. But statistically, you need to be consistent. So if I can choose 60% of the time I'm making 10,000 and then the rest of the 40% I'm losing 5, or every day, no matter if it goes into profit 50 points and then goes to hit stop loss, it still went into profit 5 points. I just chopped it down. I was like, you know what? Cash exit at $500. Doesn't matter. And then it takes the same entry based on the same strategy. If I'm floating $500, it closes the trade.
There you go.
And that's how I landed my first hedge fund deal.
That's awesome. And that's something that people can take who are either utilizing automated tools or also trading manually. It's funny because I actually learned about the industry at large through automated tools. And I was leveraging EAs and it was through an MLM. I was leveraging EAs and I honestly did not know what was going on. I found a system that could make me money. I put money into it. And then I started to just grow curiosity around, okay, like what's actually happening here? Like, I don't just want to be clueless. I want to know at least what's going on. I want to know trends. I want to know why my EA is entering a trade, and I want to know why either it got closed out or it hit TP, whatever the case may be. And that's when I actually grew, again, a curiosity to learning the skill set myself. And I haven't used an EA since.
Right. People have made a bad name out of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because people come to ask me like, yo, like, did you make this EA? Because I told you I make a lot of stuff for people. People like, did you? I was like, no, I didn't. I didn't make that one. I didn't make that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I make EAs based on strategies. I can articulate to you how this takes a trade, right? If someone's selling an EA and you ask them one simple question, what's the strategy behind the EA? And they can't tell you.
Red flag.
Don't buy it.
Yeah.
Because that means it's either martingale, it's grid, and those are good only to a point, right? Because they don't really have a drawdown management system. You know what I mean? Maybe it has 3 consecutive grid downs, then it'll start closing out the top ones. Like, it's not sustainable, right? Because you're dollar cost averaging into situations where they're not taking into account contract sizes broker to broker, especially in the FX space, right? If you're doing it on futures, it's a little bit different because they're consistent across different platforms. But in the Forex space, people with EAs get destroyed because these EAs they have to be broker specific. They have to be, because no one broker, unless they're white labeling each other, share the same contract size, asset to asset. So it has to be tailored specifically. When people ask me for systems, what broker are you using? That matters. The data feed you use matters. The same settings I'm using on one broker, and that's 80 percentile. Don't change the settings, put it on a different broker, same time frame. It's like 60. Why? And that gives you the clear indication that the data is different, contract sizes are different, which changes your drawdown. So people have to take these things into consideration. And it's unfortunate because that didn't start kicking in for me, like that realization until years later. Because when I came into the game and I was finding consistency, I was trying to collaborate with people, right?
Of course.
A lot of the guys that are huge now, I knew early, you know, and I was like, yo, let's collab. No, I'm a price action guy, or EA's blow up. I'm like, yo, bro, I haven't touched the chart in weeks. Like, what do you mean? But it comes from them seeing the bad sides of EAs and indicators and people just trying to sell a product versus basically having integrity behind their product.
1000%. And it comes down also to education, because just what you pointed out, it's not a one size fits all. And I think a lot of individuals who I've seen who leverage EAs, and honestly, this was me in the beginning too. And so that's why I grew curiosity. I'm like, why is my stop loss getting hit?
Right.
Like, why am I not hitting TP, and like asking these sorts of questions to where I actually gained a curiosity to actually learn the skill set myself. But I think it also comes down to, lack of education on the consumer's part, because you kind of think, I'm putting my trust in your system, and it kind of, by saying I'm putting the trust in your system, I'm releasing the responsibility that I have to actually learn.
Right.
And I think that's could be a problem for individuals who are, looking to gain profitability in the markets, but they're not wanting to take responsibility for their lack
Unfortunately,
of.
the most profitable industry is the ignorance industry.
Yeah.
And that's across everything,
Of
right?
course.
If you don't know, like I can't buy designer. My brain, it just doesn't allow me to, because I've made clothes before, you know what I mean? And I know where all of these things are actually made, you know what I mean? So I can't do certain things because ignorance is not bliss for me.
Sure.
Right? So it's like the same thing when it comes to where you put your money at. People want quick fixes. And sometimes we just had one of those companies, not gonna say the name, but they just blew up like $20 million off high ticket EAs. It was a martingale system, right? And what happens? All you need is one good news event. They jodiste. Like, it's done. You know what I mean? One good news event and nothing, and just trending down.
Yeah.
If you have a 5-panel grid system, it can hit 5 panels in 20 seconds. You're done. You know what I mean? So, if you can't articulate what you're selling or what you're if they can't articulate what they're selling to you,
Don't buy it.
Don't buy it. Before my slogan now is I build cool stuff for traders. But before it was like, I clone traders. I can clone you. Doesn't matter your strategy at this point. Does not matter. I can clone you to the T. And I'm proud of that, because if you ask me to build a system, I'm going to ask you to tell me your strategy, make a video, send it to me. And I'm going to clone that exactly down to the T. So when it takes an entry, you're going to see what the EA sees. Because again, I don't like people asking me questions. So this is exactly how you trade. And if it's not, tell me, I fix it. Done.
Are most of your systems for Forex, or are they in the future space?
Doesn't matter.
A combination? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It's just platform to platform.
Okay.
Right? Because MQL is different from PineScript. It's different from TypeScript. It's just different from Easy Language, Thinkorswim. So it's just like, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
It comes down to the strategy, because at the end of the day, everything's based on momentum or volume. People overcomplicate the ideas of how these EA systems work. And to make an effective system, you just have to know where you're trading, know when it moves. Just like if you're trading manually, the only difference between manual and EA is I'm automatic with it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Can you explain one of the strategies of your systems?
I've automated the Silver Bullet strategy, the ICT strategy.
Yeah.
Right. And, that was simple.
So for someone who doesn't know what the Silver Bullet strategy is.
Between certain times, so like, for example, New York, 10 a.m. to, he taught 11, but I've noticed on indices 12 is best. There's a certain gap that happens in the market, right? They call it a displacement. and it takes out another side. You have a big gap that happens between 3 candles. That's your silver bullet zone between there. Price taps in, and then you take your trade down to the opposite end of liquidity, right? So I've automated that and added a few other settings that optimizes, the cash exit, the news, all the basic stuff.
Yeah.
Supply and demand strategies. Ranko is my thing.
Okay.
Right?
What is Ranko?
I've automated. I have a Ranko suite. That's one that's actually popularized with the hedge fund clients I have.
Okay.
They use that system a lot. Man, I just have so many. You know what I mean? Like S&T divergence. I've set. There's so many trend-based systems, Hakanashi systems. Like there's so many different ways to enter a market that only goes up and down.
Have you only ever traded with automation, or have you ever?
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah. After those 3 months, it was always EAs and indicators and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
And people try to make fun of me for it. I'm like, yo, bro, what are you doing right now at 12 o'clock in the afternoon?
If you find a system that works for you, I think that's kind of the motto and just in general when it comes to trading. There's so many different ways to trade.
Right.
There's so many different strategies, and you can get hung up on whose strategy is the most profitable or whose is the most complex. Tori Trades, who I consider a friend of mine, she always mentions, she's like, I just trade trend lines. And she's like, some people shit on me for it because they're like, how can you, it's so elementary, quote unquote, so elementary.
That's what makes it effective.
But exactly. And so again, there's so many different strategies to trade. There's so many different ways to trade. And at the end of the day, it just comes down to finding a system that works for you personally. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters.
Somebody's entry is someone else's exit. It doesn't matter. By the time I used to trade the 9:30 open, right? And it was because I was measuring order book volume from futures contracts. So I will see where the orders are accumulating at. I already understood the concept of liquidity. Where's the highest resting orders, right? So if I saw that above liquidity was 2 times multiplier what's underneath it, and I would just back test every time that happened, where did the 9:30 go? It always went to where the most orders are at, because it fulfills liquidity to go in that. And so I would just go, boop. Right? So it's like, if you're doing that, then you have an understanding of contract. I call it contract manipulation.
Okay.
Right? I'm not manipulating contracts. I'm just, this is the math. This is what I need. Here's my risk. And then I'm going to sit, I'm going to pay attention to the trade to make sure I don't get worked out crazy. But when I was learning that manually trading, I was like, can I just automate this? Right? I spoke to Tori briefly at an event. I was like, I can automate this for you. And we haven't spoken since then, but then I've actually made it.
Okay.
And I'll say this right now on camera, Tori is profitable as hell. Because it's simple. It's a 3-point touch breakout. You know what I mean? Because if I told you I have a breakout system, it will hit you different.
Yeah.
She says trend line, and people are like, that's rudimentary. I was like, no, it's a breakout system.
Yeah.
It's literally 3-point. That's the pattern that you measure for a trend line or more, right? And she goes, when it breaks out, I buy or sell. That's it.
At the end of the day, it's, again, if people have so much to say about your system, it's because they have too much time, because chances are.
Study something.
Yeah.
Read a book.
Exactly. What does how does psychology play a part in, and does it play a part in algorithmic trading? I know it must be different, but I would assume it still plays somewhat of a part.
Because you just have to, like, for example, again, I don't look at the screen until Friday. Don't know what's happening. You know what I mean? I get messages when the servers are down.
Yeah.
It hits take profit or it hits stop loss. After that, I don't look at the screen. But I mean, you're still putting your money up.
Yeah.
Right? And you still want it to perform. So it's like, I've gotten to the point where I don't look at the screen now. But I used to be like, yeah, bro, like, I'll just sit there, just. And it's because, you want it to perform well, especially if you're the one making it. But if you're not the one making it,
sure.
I mean, that's not even the point. It doesn't really matter. Psychology-wise, your money's on the line and you want to perform. So it's like, you just have to trust in what you built. And it's just like if you had to trust yourself manually,
Mm-hmm.
right? Psychology comes down to the risk. It also comes down, in my belief, the problem that you're trying to solve, right? There's some people that just learned how to trade last week that trying to pay their rent this month with it. That's a problem, right? When I got to the point I was getting paid for development and that solved my real life problems,
Mm-hmm.
I became a more profitable trader.
Explain why you think that happened.
Because I'm no longer gambling to solve a problem.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is gambling. Straight up, like, no, people have systems at a poker table. They have systems at roulette. They have system at blackjack. I have systems at a chart.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. You're gambling, right?
You think across the board, all trading is gambling?
Yeah, because it's you're basing it on a statistical guess,
Yeah.
right? Because you know you get to know a round table of poker players, and then everyone there knows how to play the game as equally as good by cards. But now you gotta pay attention to mannerisms. All of it's a guess.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if this means that he's bluffing or not, or he really just had an itchy nose in that moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you just have to go with what you have, and you're basing it off a statistical advantage based on your back history data.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But now what other affects markets. You know what I mean? Presidential changes, economy changes, all that type of stuff affects things. And you just be like, the best way I tell people, I was like, if you were swimming in a river, are you going with the current or against the current? Which is the easiest way to survive?
With the current.
Yeah, with the current. Just swim with the current. Follow volume and go that way. You know what I mean? And that's how I measure all my systems, long story short. Measure volume, find a good volume measurement tool. CFD does not have volume data because it's derivatives of futures. But, Forex has futures. So I leverage both. And then that's how the system measures stuff. So psychology-wise, we're getting off topic. It's really just you have to find a way to solve the problems that don't involve trading.
I think that's the same too with manual trading, right? If you go into it, and this was actually my personal experience, and I say this in almost every interview because it's just so true. I love conducting these interviews because I love to extract the value from the guest, being able to apply it to either my journey and experience or something I'm currently going through. And I know that if I'm someone that's currently going through it or had gone through it in the past, and I know someone on the other end of the camera as well. But when I started to learn how to trade manually, I was in a fortunate position where I didn't have I worked for myself, and so I didn't have and I want to say got lucky in crypto, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to learn how to trade. But it was at that point, it was the only thing that I was focusing on, and everything else. Again, I had this safety net of money, but if money's not continuously coming in, psychologically, I'm like, okay, I got to figure something out. Like, I can't rest on this, this money forever. And it wasn't until I started to accumulate other income streams to where I actually was like, okay, there's no pressure to make this work right now.
Right.
Like, I don't need to become profitable tomorrow. And again, it's because I was trying to solve my problems, my future problems. Cause again, my current situation, I was straight, but just psychologically, I was like, I'm not going to be straight forever.
Right.
So I was trying to solve my future problems with trading, which at that point I just wasn't profitable. So it kind of creates this loop, I guess you could say.
It's really simple. It's, I tell people the same way you trade, the same way you gamble. You only gamble money you're willing to lose. You need FU money.
Yeah.
It's like you only do this when you have FU money. That doesn't mean that you have like rich money.
Sure.
Just money you don't need.
Yeah.
Rent's paid, dog got dog food, baby got
everything's
milk.
taken care of.
Everything's taken care of. Then you can just sit in here with $500 like, I could buy the shirt or I can learn how to trade. You know what I mean? Like, it just, so, trading is it's a skill set that you have to be willing to go through the pain for. It's just like basketball. I look at it the same, you know what I mean? Because as an athlete, you go through different trials and tribulations of dealing with coaches and
Sure.
the psychology game behind that and all this stuff. And the training is gruesome. And if you're trying to be a pro, it's the same thing. It's a skill set, just like any other skill set. I put my money where my mouth is, and that's it. You know what I mean? I've lost it all with trading, and I've also won it all back. So it's just part of the game.
How long did it take you to get to a point where you were selling your systems and partnering with hedge funds and
selling the system about 6 months, right?
Oh yeah, that's why you were banned.
6 months. Right. And I did that pretty quick.
Okay.
You know, my first community was called Money Moves Investments.
Okay.
And I named it after my street ball nickname, Mr. Moves, from playing basketball. And then a year after that, I changed it to Sigma Algo, where I made very intuitive systems for that. And then from Sigma Algos, when I started getting other hedge fund clients, because one of my students was a hedge fund partner and stuff like that, and he saw the system.
I'm sorry, what was that number? You said 16. 16.
I have 16 different licenses with different hedge funds that license my systems.
And how long did it take you from 2020 to that point? I think I missed that.
I just closed the last one in February.
Okay.
Right. So it's like it's a continued relationship.
Yeah.
And it just happens through communication. Like I don't actively look for it, to be honest. It's just you'd be surprised how friendly they are with each other.
Oh, well.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Why do you think that is?
Information is power.
Yeah.
Right? I really learned the trading game from dealing with the hedge fund guys. And it's not even like big hedge funds. I'm not talking about Citadel or whatever. These are, compared to the systems I've seen quant guys make, I'm not a quant developer, right? I'm not that mathematically skilled.
And what is a quant developer?
Oh, man. Basically,
in layman's terms,
is the amount of information you can process into like one little chip.
Okay.
And it's just constantly doing math, and there's different algorithms behind it, right? Okay. I'm pretty sure there's 100% better explanation for that. But
no, that was perfect for
it's
my
like
brain.
It's like taking this room and trying to capsulize it and put it in your cell phone.
Okay.
It's power computing. So, you know, compared to what these guys do is at the big level, I'm rudimentary, right? I just take pattern like and then automate the recognition of them, measure volume stuff. But they taught me everything I needed to know about like fundamentals, news data, the type of information they get through Bloomberg and stuff like that. And I told you I work with DX now. So it's like, then I saw how DX was taking the data. I was like, okay, I just leveled up. You know what I mean? Like I just kind of figured out the real secret behind it. And again, what closes all these deals is that one little setting, that cash exit option.
Okay.
And that's a big psychology play.
The risk management side of things.
Because now it's like, you focus on so much. Trading's a business. You focus on so much on your win percentage. Mm-hmm. I want to make money. What you don't do is say, I want to make money consistently. These guys said, if I had 5 days a week to make money, 21 trading days, let's say 20 trading days a month, and I could hit $10,000 out of 10 of those 20, they much rather hit $1,000 every day than 10,000. And I'm like, the math doesn't even make sense. What do you mean? He was like, statistically, we make more money off gradual increase of revenue than just big hits and home runs.
That makes sense to me in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're saying, and maybe I heard it incorrectly, let's say there's 21 trading days in a month. You're saying that typically they like to see, for easy math, $1,000 every one of those trading days versus hitting, 10 grand one week, 5 grand another week, so on and so forth.
Yeah, because you by the end of the month, you'll actually be making money at the bigger scale.
Yeah.
But they want to make way more money compounding because they're going to get more investments in. Mm-hmm. If they from freaking January to June, they're making $1,000 a day versus from January to June, they're hitting $10,000 on a 70%. I'm like, but you're making more money. He was like, that's not the point. It's not about making money. It's about getting money. I was like,
How does that correlate to someone like an individual trader? Because it makes sense for, a company that wants a good RR. They want to be.
It's the
They're
same
getting
thing.
okay.
It's the same thing. It's like, you know, what's a high yield saving account?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's compounding consistently at the same number
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah.
every month. You know what I'm saying? That's what people want to see. Right. And I think that was the mind shift, because it's like, you just want to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I still want to make a lot of money.
Of course.
I have an account that makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
I also have an account that looks like I just began to learn how to trade, and it makes $500 to $1,000 a day. And it just consistency. And if I wanted to show someone, I'm like, here, and they'll go, here's 100,000.
Yeah. I think what's important to recognize with this point is that I think social media plays a large role
Right.
in people wanting to hit,
Yeah.
$100,000 months, whatever the case may be, because it's possible and
Right.
there's people out there doing it. But for people who are, again, just getting started in trading, or you're just getting started in trading prop firms, it's important to recognize, you said $500 to $1,000 a
Mhm.
day. Now, I know that obviously requires capital
Right.
to make $500 to $1,000 a day, but I want individuals who are tuning into this to think about, if you're making $500 to $1,000 a day,
Mm-hmm.
20 trading days, 21 trading days in a month,
Right.
compounded over time,
Mhm.
ultimately what that can look like. I
Right.
think with trading specifically, trading Forex specifically, social media specifically, we have like these rose-colored glasses on of what trading could be for us. And at the end of the day, those things are valid, because
Right.
again, people are living these lifestyles, people are making a lot of money through it. But I think it also serves everyone to also have a system that can make you money consistently over a long period of time,
Right.
versus hitting those high spikes and
Yeah.
in both directions.
It's I think it's simple math. You know, I'm not a big prop firm guy.
Okay, why?
Uh,
Spill the tea. You're on Top Tier Trader Interviews.
Yeah, but that's why. So, it's actually not my experience at Top Tier. It was really early on. This
Okay.
is like FTMO was the only guy on the block type situation.
Okay.
I was trading FTMO. I had 3 accounts, and I had passed all 3. And one day I was taking a trade, and I looked at my trading view, candle going up. I looked at my MT5 candle going down. That was it for me. Right? So I was like, okay, no more prop firms for me. But that's not the point.
Okay.
The point is, prop firms are actually easier than people are making it. And the unfortunate part about it is there's certain, mentors out there that are saying, oh, pass 20 in a day. It's possible. Does it happen consistently? No. So if I know in order to pass phase 1, I need to make $10,000. There's 20 trading days in a day. Can I make $500 in 20 days or $1,000 in 10? How do I do that? What's the contract size that they're using on the asset that I'm trading? How does my strategy go into, like, I'm surgical. You know what I mean? Like, I'm that surgical. I don't even
have to be.
Yeah. I don't think about order blocks or whatever. I'm like, okay, if order block is an entry criteria, that's all it is. It's an entry criteria. The same way that you see an order block and I see a fair value gap, or my Ranko system sees another brick. It's your entry criteria. Does this entry criteria happen most days? Yes. Okay. Does it go into profit most days? Yes. Okay. Even on the days that it loses, does it go into profit this much? That was the turning point for me. So if I can help visualize this, right? On a winning strategy, I'm hitting for 100 points on NASDAQ, right?
Okay.
Most days. On the days that it loses, it at least goes into profit 20 points before it wicks in at least it goes into profit 20 points on this entry model. I've measured that. And I was like, okay, I know that if I just wanted to say F it to the rest and say, I just want to take this 25 points, And the reason why I don't, and people are like, why don't you just say you take profit at 25? Is because it changes the entry. Because when you have a system, everything is based on what happens before. So if I change the money, same entry, but I change the money management, it's going to change where the next trade is entering because it's measured. You get what I mean? So if I know that yesterday my take profit was here, but then if I change the back test and I move the take profit here, it's not going to measure what's happening between here and here to see if there's any new entries because it's still in the previous trade. So that matters. So I don't change the money management. I just started changing the equity management, the live equity management. So it was like, okay, I know even on the days it loses, it goes into profit at least 25 points. That's the 25 points I want to focus on this metric. And then you just start manipulating the contract and your money management. How do I do this without violating the rules? Okay, standard lot at this 25, I'm gonna make $2,000 a day. I don't need all that. Let me just take the 1,000 and keep it on. You'll pass. That's it. And then if you have that copy trader and all that stuff, you're going to pass multiple. People just need to get surgical with their trades. And because it's all statistics and math. And I'm not a mathematician. Let me make that obviously clear. You know what I mean? You know, I use AI for everything now. I'm an AI specialist nowadays. So I think passing challenges, live account or funded account, comes down to how surgical you want to get with your entries. And it's not about your entry criteria or the second confirmation, third confirmation. You have to measure when you enter the trade, how often does it hit your take profit? When it loses, you got to start measuring how much it goes into profit on an average. Then that's how you measure your extreme profitability.
I love that we're getting this granular about it because I know, again, for so many people, that's the key that they're missing. Like that's the point that they're missing. I find that you can have a strategy and you can know the strategy like the back of your hand. But when it comes to actually execution and being, again, consistently profitable, it's that element that I find that people struggle the most with when it comes to passing these prop firm challenges.
Right. And I know people that could pass challenges in a day, but then they fuck it up. Oh, they mess it up the next day. I can guess. Yeah. Oh, I'm over here trying to be a good guy. But they mess it up the next day. And it's because it's the greed factor. That's the only thing that kills us is greed. You know what I mean? It kills me to this day, which is why I don't look at the screen. I keep the notifications on my phone and
How'd you learn that about yourself?
Because I'm a problem solver at heart.
Okay.
So the more I try to solve a problem, the more detriment I do to myself.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're actively trying to solve a problem, especially during COVID, and you don't have bread and rent, your car is being taken from you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Certain landlords were evicting people. I'm like, how do I solve this problem?
Yeah.
How do I solve this problem? I thought I had this problem solved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, when you realize that's the base of it, I realized I was a nasty trader when I didn't care. I was nasty. I was Steph Curry from the other side of the court. I was like, boop, huh?
Yeah, what's going on?
What'd you say? Oh, I forgot I was in a trade. Oh, $10,000 profit, close. Like, I just forget I'm in a trade now.
Yeah.
Once I got to that point, I was like, I'm blessed, and let's automate that. You know what I mean? And that's it. That's what it comes down to. When I realized that the base of my greed came from me problem solving, not just because I want to buy another car. I'm not materialistic in that way. Some people are driven by that.
Sure.
Nothing wrong. But if that's what drives you, you have to figure out how to not let that control you and be like, is this as important as this? Is it solved? Okay. I can take my time with this. Some people treat what they want like it's the end of the world if they don't get it. And I think that's what kills a lot of people. Yeah. And stop watching these gurus, guys. Yeah. Let me correct that, because there's some of them going to call me after this and be like,
"Why are you talking shit about me?"
It's not a talking. It's like,
no, I know.
All of them actively know it. People still know it's a way to sell.
Of course.
It's a way to sell.
Of course.
And this is why, like, if you look at my Instagram, it's still basketball. You know what I mean? I made a lot of my money, trading, but I made a lot of my money developing custom software solutions for brokers, prop firms, stuff like that, and dev experts. So I made a lot of money from doing my own thing, and people still think I play basketball.
And that's by design.
That's by design because I just don't like being in people's faces.
Yeah.
I have a project that I'm working on right now. It's an AI project that I'll tell you about in a second.
Yeah.
But, other than that, I don't publicize anything. You know what I mean? And the guys that do, that's their persona. That's their business. People need to treat this like a business.
Yeah.
When you come across you come across one of these guys and you see them with their car and then you swipe and you see that's a business. They're not just showing you that to say this. They're saying they're showing that as, oh yeah, you could do it too. Here's my course. It's a business.
Yep.
At the end of the day, they had to learn the skill set in order to produce those numbers.
Of course.
I am not going to say if that's true facts or fake or not, but people need to know when they see that it is a business.
1000%. Use your discernment to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Utilize it as a source of inspiration. If those are things that drive you, for example, I'm not really driven by supercars because, I mean, to be honest, I just don't care about supercars. But if it's something that I naturally liked and it was something that was a future goal of mine to have, then sure, you can use these individuals as sources of inspiration,
right?
But also use your discernment to understand that it's also
And that really goes down to the young kids that come across these guys, right? Yeah, the older guys know.
I feel like it's like I feel confidently enough to say like it's almost like a blanket statement. Like I feel like anyone, young, old, whatever. But to your point, young and impressionable,
that just want to get there, and it's just like, yo,
pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes, because in my mentorship, it's now free now. Like I release everything for free, and I'll tell you why. I was trying to teach people, and again, I am not a people's person.
And what were you teaching them? Were you
teach them how to trade, but then I've automated everything.
Yeah, that's
so it's like you can come into my situation and then just be like, follow the instructions, you'll make money.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I've made all my videos for free on YouTube. Mm-hmm. I made the systems free. And unfortunately, people will only put value behind what you put behind it. Mm-hmm. So like you'll never find the perfect balance between too expensive or it's free. Mm-hmm. So when I tell them, I'm like, yo, you guys know that I released to all 2,000 of y'all a system that hedge funds licensed for me at 50 grand per quarter plus profit. You know what I mean? And y'all just don't use it. Don't use it.
I wonder why that is.
But if I were to charge $500 a month for this, half of you will be here.
Yeah.
Other half will complain it's too expensive.
Yeah.
So when these guys are selling things, it's like, I understood that. I was like, okay, I mean, yeah, so of course. There's only so many ways you could teach someone to press a red or blue button.
Yeah.
Right? The market only goes up and down. And there's different strategies for people to recognize different patterns. I've automated everything. And unless you're willing to, one, do the work, two, I try to stay away from the cliche topics, but it's a skill set.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, do the work, do the research, and treat this like a job. You're not really going to find solace in this space. And then if you're doing your history or your background check on one of these gurus, a lot of them are who they say they are. I know them. Some of them, people find out, but it's regurgitating information.
Yeah.
Right? You don't need to know if he's actually making money. He's giving you the same information his profitable mentor taught you.
Yeah.
That you can find for free. And that's where this industry is shifting towards automated systems now. And I find it hilarious because 5 years ago, I was the guy getting left on red.
Yeah.
Now everyone's like, hey, can you automate this for me? I'm just like, yeah, this price tag went up crazy. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, to go back to the point of free or charging, it comes down to, you just mentioned it. It's a skill set. Mm-hmm. you have to learn it to a certain extent to
Right.
understand what's going on. Just like playing a sport, you
Mhm.
know, basketball. I am not a professional tennis player, but it's a sport that I do like to
Mhm.
play. And so it's like this morning I went to a free clinic here
Mm.
in Miami, and it was fun. Obviously, I had a lot of fun, but
Free in Miami?
yeah, actually, no, I'm lying. But it was like $25. It's like in my head.
Don't give me false hope.
I know. But I was just thinking, to me, I don't know. Well, because it was like a community thing,
Right.
so it felt like something that was free
Yeah.
versus paying a one-on-one private lesson
Okay.
with someone,
Right.
right? So that, it wasn't free. not here in Miami.
Yeah,
They're
you
charging
want to
you
promote
for
falseness on
everything.
this. Okay.
But all that to say, I don't know what it is about human behavior really, because again, I had fun at this clinic that was community based. But if I'm working, not even, doesn't even have to be one on one, but like I'm paying, you know, $100, $200 a lesson, I'm putting more of myself in it because of that, because of the price tag.
Value is perceived value,
Yeah.
right? So it's like if I walked into this room, you didn't know me
Yeah.
45 minutes ago. And then you asked me the same question, how much you charge for a consultation? And I told you $5,000 an hour. You immediately think I'm someone important because you
True.
believe that I can justify why I'm worth $5,000 an hour.
Yeah.
If I walked in here and said $100 an hour, you're like, oh, okay.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Right?
Yeah.
It's value equals perceived value.
Sure.
Why this is why people show their cars. This is why people show their watches and other. And it's like you
Mm.
understand that, right? And it's just taking a step back and really saying, okay, what is he going to teach me that I can't learn for free on YouTube? I taught everything. I learned everything on YouTube. Swear to God. Swear to God.
All of your coding, everything.
All of it.
Yeah.
If you want to learn how to code, you can go to codeacademy.com, right? And they'll charge you $30 a month. But if you were to type in Python 101 on YouTube, it's the same video that's on Code Academy.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can learn anything for free.
Anything.
You can, bro, they release Harvard level courses for free. You type it on TikTok, free Harvard courses, and there's the guy posting it saying, yeah, you go to this website, and it's an EDU website. The government's releasing it for free at this point, saying, here it is. You know what I mean? And so, you know, just do your research.
Yeah.
And don't get caught up too much in the hype because a lot of the money comes from third-party things.
Yeah.
And you think a guy cashed out $100,000 on a trade and he bought a Lambo. No, he cashed out $100,000, took $10,000, put it into credit, and he leveraged the credit to get the Lambo.
Yeah.
It is smart. He didn't. A lot of these guys don't buy. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
people need to learn that side of the game first.
Yeah.
The business credit, the leveraging of taxes, the leveraging of assets. They took that $100,000 payout, kept 50 in the broker, took 50, put it in different banks, leveraged it out, and when people get to that point, you're like, oh, okay, so really all I need is $10,000, and I
Yeah.
can get the Lambo.
Tell me what you're working on right now. You mentioned that you were going to go into it, but then we switched the topic.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I watched the show Billions.
Billions?
No. So for those that did watch the show Billions, it's a show about like a hedge fund.
Okay. What's it
So
on?
I watched it on Showtime.
Okay. Billions.
Yeah. It's about a hedge fund called Axe Capital. Right. Long story short, very profitable hedge fund, has its own drama, so very fun to watch. But different characters from the show. I took all the characters from the show and I made them AI agents. So I have the first on paperwork AI hedge fund that could do analysis, technical analysis. We have a trader psychology AI agent from one of the characters, Wendy Rhodes. Right. So it's like a camera. It's a parody. Right. None of the characters or likeness are there.
Sure.
It's like, but you have some characters that come from the show. And the main one is Devin Matrix. He's my character. And then basically it's like ChatGPT for traders and developers.
Okay.
So you can run analysis, technical analysis. It'll give you reports. It's connected to different data feeds. We do have partnerships with different trading platforms, TradingView DX. Hopefully talk to TradeLocker very soon. Futures platforms and stuff like that basically takes all that data and gives you the summary. It's like having a team of Jarvises. And then I trained it on different coding languages, PineScript from TradingView, MQL from MT5, so you can articulate strategies and it'll code it for you, like me.
Nice.
And then you have your trader psychology and all these different things. So you have a hedge fund, basically as a AI platform. And then we're working on our licensing to actually be able to manage funds through AI. And the reason why we're comfortable with that is because of the data that it has, right?
Mhm.
It has the same data that the CME does. We're working on the licensing to acquire that. Yeah, and we have a lot of different broker partners and stuff like that going on. So in the next year, you're going to see a few props and a few brokers partner up with TradeDevy. If you guys are interested in looking at TradeDevy, you can just go to TradeDevy.ai, or you can just follow me on Instagram and TradeDevy on Instagram and then sign up for the waitlist.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And how long in the making has that been?
A year,
Okay.
a gruesome year. It's a very because it's like it started off as something simple. It started off with one, Devin, and then you have Annalisa Carter, Wags is the CEO. So like all the agents are actual like employees, and
Mhm.
then on the back end, you can just see them talking to each other
That's
and coming
cool.
out with stuff. So it's really cool. So it's a project that I'm actually very proud of. Um, and I think that it will be a good turning point in the industry as something that you'll see across platforms because it's broker platform neutral, market neutral. So it does futures, crypto stocks.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like it does all of it, right? So you'll see it on your forex broker, and then you'll probably also see it on a crypto exchange.
That's awesome.
Um, we have an AI specialist that specializes in crypto. We have one that specializes in. I actually made one for SMC traders because I was
Okay.
like, that's a community that's strong. I need an agent that specializes in this technique,
Yeah.
right? So it's like it's like a trading floor. You have your CEO, you have a CIO, you have your COO, then you have your trading floor of traders. One's a crypto specialist, so I made it so it's like any trader that you are, you're gonna find a agent that specializes
That's
in what
awesome.
you need. So I'm very excited for the project.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to share that.
Yeah, no, of
Yeah, I
course,
mean,
of course.
but yeah, Trade Devi is something that I'm very excited about.
Besides that, if someone is tuning into this interview and they want to leverage one of the systems that you have
Mhm.
or learn from you, where is do you have a community
I
of
do.
people?
Like I said, it's free now. It's
Okay.
been free for the past year.
Okay.
Um, and it's been honestly it's been dormant. But if anyone watching it wants it, just hit me up on Instagram, Dallion King, DALLIONKING. Um, and then on YouTube, it's Sigma Algo. But if you hit me up on Instagram and my link in the bio is still the access to the Discord and everything's in there.
Cool.
So you just hit me up, I'll give you access. Like I just give people the systems. Like I don't really care now.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a good place to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So it's like I'm working on something that well I'll bring back the community in a more efficient manner because now it's not anyone selling a system, right?
Yeah.
And I was like I'm not in the I don't want to, I don't care. So yeah, I mean, like I give it for free. If you use it, great. But really, what we need is the ecosystem to support the system,
Mhm.
the ways to automate it. MT5 not taking US clients now.
Yeah.
I'm working with DX, and I'll just say actively on this platform, DX is working on a solution for automation, scripting, trade copiers, all that stuff. So a lot of people that have DX are going to have a solution to that very soon. They asked me to say that.
I got paid to say that line. No, no
So
worries.
just to let the community know, and so yeah, so I'm building a platform that's going to allow for everyone that uses algos to leverage it cross-platform.
That's
So
awesome.
once that's done, I'll put a price tag on it, and hopefully people appreciate it because of the price tag.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. You mentioned that in 2020, that was the time that you kind of got into this space because you were, back against the wall. What am I
Hmm.
going to do? That was a little over 4 years ago.
Hmm.
If 4 years ago, maybe pre COVID, you're still playing basketball.
Uh-huh.
If someone were to be like, hey, Dalian, 4 years from now, this is what your life is going to look like. You're going
No,
to have these systems. You're going
no,
to be partnering with hedge funds.
nope,
You would have been like,
hell
nah.
no. Um, you know, not to take it to a dark place, but um Like I said, I'm from New York, and the way I grew up, I didn't think I was going to make it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for me to go from that to playing pro ball and gone viral, like it's one thing to go pro basketball, but I had a brand behind me. I was, working out with Kobe at his gym, creating content for it when he was alive. You know, like I was doing a lot of cool stuff. I met
Yeah.
a lot of my heroes, Bone Collector, the Professor. I was doing celebrity games. I was like, who am I? You know what I mean? I'm not that important. So, the only difference between me and a lot of guys you see around, I don't know if you follow like White Ivy and the Hezzies, I'm in the same draft class as them. But they continue with it. I went overseas and played pro ball for my country. I'm Dominican. Right. So I was like, all right, well, I'm happy here. And, you know, if I look at my life personally, a lot of the big stuff that I was looking forward to ended in snap moments. Were taken away at snap moments.
Give us an example.
I went to Montclair State in Jersey, and by the time season came around, tryouts, I was already playing, in the leagues and stuff like that. Everyone knew I was the best guy on campus. The night before tryouts, my ankle snapped.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
Mid season. It's just a lot of stuff like that happens to me. The day before a national team tryout, the team that plays in the Olympics, COVID, right? So it's just like, okay, you get to the point, it's like, all right, I know I'm good. I don't know if this is meant for me at this point, but I have people to take care of. I have myself to take care of. How do I get to this bread? I'm a hustler. So I was just like, all right, well, I see blue screen. Show me how to do that. I brought a few people in. I had a following at that point. So it's just like, I signed a few people up. I'm making, what was it, $1,000 a month or five. I made like $5,000 a month at one point. I was one of those tiers.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, rent's paid, car's paid, we good. I'm more interested in the trading because I see this guy multiplying what I made in a month and a day. I need that. And that's how I just fell into it. And for me, it was the art of problem solving. So that's how I regurgitated to people. Are you a problem solver? Solve this problem. Start with your cell phone, then your car, then your rent, or put your groceries somewhere in there. You know what I mean? Like, solve that, and then solve monthly problems on a data basis. So, start at a weekly basis. Solve your monthly problems at a weekly basis, then solve your weekly basis your problems on a daily basis. Scale that way, and you'll see that the math will click in your head as to what you need to do. Especially if you have people depending on you.
Yeah.
That's how it worked for me.
You get really granular.
I do.
From trading to life. And
it's worked for me because all my art forms have been granular. Right. I was also a bodybuilder for a while. So, that's a lot of muscle connection. You're trying to do all these intricate things with your body. When you're trying to shoot, it's the difference between shooting with this finger and these two fingers that throws off your shot. Everything became granular for me mentally. So I think that's just how my brain processes information when you're trying to be good at something.
1000%. And I think that helps with specifically what you were saying about problem solving. And it helps in my brain. The reason why I would do that is so I'm not overwhelmed by everything. And okay, this is the problem. Now let's start here, and now let's work backwards, and being able to apply that to, again, life problems, but also trading problems, whatever the case may be. So I think it's really useful. It's really beneficial, and I know I'm taking note, and I know people also who are tuning into the interview are taking note. Where can people find you online?
Again.
Oh, you're a ghost. So
I'm a ghost. It's very simple.
Okay.
My Instagram page.
Yeah.
I do have Sigma Algo, which is the YouTube channel.
Okay.
But then my real focus right now again is Trade Devy. And even that until I think we're going to release beta sometime in like September, October.
Okay.
Even that doesn't have like a full web page yet. So just follow me on Instagram, Dallion King. And you can follow Sigma Algo on Instagram as well, and Trade Devy on Instagram. That's the best way to follow to keep up with me.
Yeah.
But then once everything drops, you'll see it drop. You know what I mean? And that's it. Yeah, I'm a very simple guy. I'm not.
I love it.
I wear. I'm surprised. If it wasn't for the light, you wouldn't see me.
Well, it was nice to have the ghost. I'm just gonna deem you the
there you
ghost. But Dallion, thank you so much for
Appreciate it.
for being here,
Blessings.
for blessing us with your presence. And yeah, I always take notes selfishly. That's why I love to conduct these
As you should.
interviews. But also everyone who's tuning in, make sure to comment down below. Let us know what your biggest takeaway is from this conversation. Again, if you are not subscribed to the Top Tier YouTube channel, I mean, I ultimately just don't know what you're doing. Make sure to be subscribed. Every single Friday, we're releasing new heat for you. And also make sure that you're following us on Instagram, Twitter. We have these pieces of short form content that are also going out if that's a little bit more digestible for you. But that's it. And that's all. Dallion King.
Thank you for having me
so
on.
much.
Blessings. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.